Today's storytime video is called Goodbye Racist Chan. Okay, so I actually wanted to do this video while I did my makeup, but last night I started to get this ear infection and my gland's swollen and I have a headache and I feel really dizzy. It's just a bad time, honestly. For some reason this year my health has just been terrible and I don't know why. So this is just another thing, but I think it should clear up in a few days. But until then, I didn't really feel like getting ready this morning either, so we're gonna do the bare minimum. Okay, so I know that most of my subscribers are really sadistic and so this is a video celebrating the downfall of someone. I really don't condone this kind of behavior or mindset, but honestly this is one of the worst people I've ever met in Japan. I tend to not hold grudges. I'm sure if you watch my videos before, I tend to not keep grudges against people, and generally I wish everyone well. I don't really have anyone that I don't really like in Japan that much, so if you invoke this kind of feeling from me, then you must have really messed up. Okay, so maybe 5 or 6 years ago, we used to hang out with a whole bunch of people, and I used to be really involved in the Lolita community. Not so much anymore, I think, because of the pandemic. So I used to meet Lolitas now and then. I met one through another friend. She's a white girl from Australia. And I didn't really think much of her when I first met her. She was pretty shy. She had short blonde hair like me, very nondescript. But anyway, she seemed nice, quite shy, so we used to hang out sometimes, but more in a group. I've never hung out with her just one-on-one, so I didn't really know her personality. The problem is it takes a while for people's personalities to show, so sometimes I hung out with people that weren't very nice, but honestly I didn't know until 2 or 3 times later because we were hanging out in a group. The first red flag I had from her was we were walking in a group, and I think this was after a Japanese fashion meetup where I think it was Lolita, and we went out for tea wearing Lolita, and I heard her in the background talking with someone about how she didn't think that blackface was a big deal, and that she doesn't understand why white people can't do it, blah blah blah, which is not a topic that really is brought up during a Lolita meet, and it was just bizarre. But again, I just took this information, I stored it in the back of my head because I didn't really know her, and obviously I'm just earwigging someone's conversation, so maybe I took something out of context. And I think back then I was still relatively new in Japan, and I think I gave people maybe a few too many chances. But anyways, I saw this information in the back of my head for later, this is the kind of person this person could potentially be. Sometimes I would meet people who would try to befriend me, mainly because I have a small social media platform, or because at that time I was on Japanese TV quite a bit, and I used to work with NHK Kawaii International, and these people would kind of latch onto me in hopes that they could get work with NHK or get more followers, which honestly never works because I don't know anyone, and I'm basically nobody, but it was always interesting, and it was pretty easy to tell these types because they just relentlessly compliment you. They want to hang out with you, but they don't really have anything in common with you and stuff like that. And I think it's something that kind of happens a lot if you have a little bit of a platform and you kind of get used to it. I got that kind of vibe from her, and maybe that's why I didn't want to hang out with her one-on-one. The next big red flag came from another fashion meet. I forget what it was, but we ended up going out as a group afterwards to an izakaya. I'm pretty sure that you know that izakaya is just a place where you go to eat and drink, and we were eating there with a group of people, and we were all white girls at that time. And I think in a group like that, a lot of time in Japan, white people will tend to say something racist to me and assume I agree with them, and of course I don't, and that's always a little bit interesting. Racist Chan said to the other Australian girl, "Oh, doesn't this remind you of being back home?" And the other Australian girl was pretty confused, and she said, "Oh, what you mean, how? Because the menu's different, we don't really have izakaya back in Australia." And Racist Chan said, "Oh, you know, all the Indian people serving us. Normally when you come to places like this, there's always Indian people here as the waiter staff, right?" And I was saying, what? It's such a bizarre comment to make. And I said to her, like, you do know that, like, my family is Indian, right? And she was shocked, obviously, because I'm white. And not through blood, but, like, my brothers and sisters, they're half Indian, their dad's Indian, their aunties and uncles are all Indian, so like I grew up with Indian people, so it was just very, just I don't know, jarring for me to say that. And then she got really uncomfortable and she stopped talking, and again, like I didn't I just stored this information for later, but I was just like, okay, I definitely don't want to hang out with this person. Like, I couldn't tell if it's like just pure ignorance or that she was being maliciously racist, but either way I knew I didn't want to hang out with her anymore. The next time I saw her was less of a red flag in that respect, but it's just annoying. We were both called to model in like a fashion show for like various Lolita brands, and we didn't know which brand we'd be modeling until we showed up. So we showed up and I saw her, and we got the little piece of paper that said he would be modeling, and I was modeling Angelic Pretty, and she was modeling a brand called Leaf. There's also like a really cool brand. I think they're actually Korean. And when she found out that I was modeling Angelic Pretty and she was modeling Leaf, she started to cry and get really mad, and she went to the staff and told them like she wanted to model Angelic Pretty. And I said, honestly, if they can swap, like we can just swap. Like I don't care. The dress that she got to model was really cool. Honestly, I don't really care. I was just there for fun. And I was having a good time, so it's like, okay, I could see that she was deeply hurt by this, and maybe she'd always wanted to model for Angelic Pretty. To me, it's not really a big deal, so I agree that we could swap. But of course, the staff said no, because they sent a list of the models to the different brands, and the brands picked, and I think maybe the brands would be a little bit annoyed if just suddenly on the day the models were switched, and I think it was like down to our measurements and stuff like that. So she was just really, really mad. She was rude to the organizers and generally like grumpy and crying a lot. And I put that down to her. I think that she's on the spectrum, and so I put it down to that, and you know I did my best to calm her down and make her feel better, and we had a good day, and it ended up not being that bad in the end. But I just thought that that was kind of a little bit of a red flag. The other thing I noticed was at the end, she called her husband, who was with his parents, and they had a car, and she was telling them to come pick her up, but they tried to say over the phone that they couldn't pick her up because it's kind of like a one-way street and it was kind of hard to get to, but if she walked up into Harajuku station, then they could pick her up from there. Again, she got really, really angry, and she was shouting at her husband down the phone. And I don't know, I just thought it was just very weird. Maybe just like an insight into her personality. And I said that I'll just walk you to the station, it's fine, it's only around the corner. And so that's what I ended up doing. I don't know, in that moment, I don't know, I felt kind of sorry for her because I could tell that she was quite an emotional person. And I put my other feelings for her aside, and I walked her to the station. But I just thought that, like, I don't know, it was just kind of like weird behavior, I don't know, because like his parents seem kind of old as well, I don't know, I feel bad for them. So yeah, I didn't see her for a while after that, and I just completely forgot about her, because she's honestly forgettable. But then one day, one of my friends said that they needed to speak to me, and this friend is incredibly empathetic and quite shy and skittish, and I could tell they felt like they had to tell me something, but they didn't want to say what it was. And there was a little bit of back and forth because they were like, I don't know if I should tell you, like I don't want to make you angry and I don't want to cause trouble. And I'm not someone to get angry that much unless it's something to do with my friends, so I knew it was something to do with my friends. And it took a while, but finally my friend told me. She said that Racist Chan and her met up. And again, because my friend is white, I guess that Racist Chan decided to just assume that everyone's as racist as she is, and she went on this big rant how she wanted to be my friend, but she felt like we couldn't ever become friends because I'm too liberal. And that was the first thing she said, which I think is really interesting because I honestly, I've had this quite a lot in Japan, or like just in general, like people who want to be my friends, but obviously from online and stuff like that, they see that I'm pretty liberal. Back then, I didn't even consider myself to be like super left-wing or anything. I just thought it was like normal for people to have rights. But anyways, that was another red flag. And yeah, I just honestly, if that's your issue with me, I don't want to hang out with you. And then there was the second thing, and my friend really didn't want to tell me this. She said she wanted to, but she had been told this by Racist Chan, and she knows that if she told me, I would get really angry, and if I showed that I knew, then that would cause arguments between them. And just in general, she didn't want to upset me or upset anyone, and I could really understand her position. But I said I really just would like to know what she said. And it's after that, after saying that I was too liberal, she also said the reason she didn't want to hang out with me is because I hang out with all those N-words. She literally called my friends the N-word. And yeah, there's not many times I've been so angry that I've literally seen white, but I was so angry. I was so angry. And I know that's exactly what my friend didn't want, but yeah, I was very, very angry. And I knew that I would be seeing this girl again at like some stupid fashion event, so I was like, that's it, I'm gonna kid her, I'm gonna beat her up. And my friend obviously tried to calm me down and begged me, please don't say anything, because then I will be in trouble and blah blah blah. So we had a little bit back and forth, and honestly, I know that particularly for this friend, it took a lot of bravery for her to come forward and tell me, because I know that she's really shy and she doesn't really like causing trouble. So I thought it was incredibly brave of her to tell me, so I agreed that I wouldn't do anything that would expose her for telling me. But then, as luck would have it, I was invited to a tea party the next day. This tea party is with a friend of mine who owns a Lolita fashion brand, and we used to go to her house and just, you know, it used to be like a little event. It was really, really nice, and there used to be Japanese Lolitas there and foreign Lolitas, and I honestly really didn't think about it. I just, you know, got ready and went. Suddenly, I went to the event. This is literally the next day. I went to the event, and Racist Chan was there. I was so mad, and it was hilarious because we were all wearing like these elaborate dresses, and there was like a big table with like macarons and stuff on, and I wanted to just tackle her into the table and like just pick her up and like throw her into the cake. I smashed the teapot on her, but I remained very, very calm, and I just ignored her. And as soon as she saw me, she ran up to me like, oh, it's so good to see you, blah, 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 blah. And I just completely ignored her. And she insisted on sitting next to me. And we sat there for 2 hours without talking to each other because I wouldn't look at her, I wouldn't speak to her. I didn't show her why I was angry, but I just made it very clear that I didn't want to speak to her. And this is also why I was so mad. And this is like a little bit of background on Racist Chan. Okay, so she's never worked in her entire life. She just came to Japan on a working holiday visa, married the first man that spoke to her, and then decided that she just wanted to be like a stay-at-home mom or whatever, which is totally fine. Like, I'd love to do that. But the fact is that she's judging me on my beliefs, she's judging my friends on the color of their skin, but she's literally never worked a day in her life and has no intention of working. She's never gone to university, she never went past high school, yet she's judging my friends who are all incredibly amazing, smart, well-educated women. Just made me so mad. Like, honestly, I've been maybe incredibly mad only like 3 times since I moved to Japan, and honestly that was one of them. And another thing is I get really mad when people pretend to have similar ideologies to me, and I've had this a few times. I had this a few times this year actually, where people present themselves to be left-wing just to hang out with me, but actually they're super Republican. And, you know, like, it just, I don't know, it just gets to me. Like, I'd rather you be honest, or like, you know, we don't have to hang out. Like, let's be honest. Japan has tons of racist white people for you to hang out with. Like, you really don't have to hang out with me. There's tons of people for you to hang out with. I don't know why these people insist on wanting to hang out with me, because I don't want to hang out with you. Yeah, and the other thing I forgot to mention is I did actually meet her husband a few times, and one of the times we hung out was like a kind of like a couples meeting. There was a bunch of couples, and we went to the Kawaii Monster Cafe, which will tell you how long ago this was. And I met him, and I just remembered he was very like soft-spoken. His English was really, really good. which is great because I'm pretty sure Racist-chan didn't speak any Japanese. And yeah, he was just really, really nice and level-headed, and I just thought, wow, like, that's a really nice guy. Like, this Racist-chan's got herself a nice husband, and that's really, really nice. Yeah, nearing the end of our story, I just blocked her off of everything. I spoke to my friends, the one that she called the N-word, and I asked them, like, what would they want me to do? Like, if they wanted, I could confront her, they could confront her. And honestly, the sad thing is that they were like, you know, we don't even care, like, pfft, whatever. We just block her. So I blocked her, and I remember that she had a best friend who was also just like not a very nice person and had loads of red flags, and I blocked her too. And I remember at another fashion event, oh my god, I just can't get rid of these people, her best friend came up to me and said, "Why did you block me?" And I said, "Because your best friend is racist." And I remember she didn't say anything and she just walked away. So like, I'm sure that, like, you know, if you're comfortable with your best friend being racist, again, I don't want to hang out with you. So that was a whole thing. Yeah, and then I guess she just kind of like faded into obscurity. I never really saw her again. I didn't really see her on social media. I kind of just forgot that she existed until a couple of years ago. Finally, karma hit. I'm not an incredibly spiritual person, but I do really believe in karma, because when stuff like this happens, instead of being confrontational, I just normally leave the situation, and these people always end up destroying themselves. And this is, I guess, kind of what happened, because in the end, I heard through the grapevine that she ended up getting divorced from her husband, or her husband divorced her, and then she didn't have a visa, and because she never graduated university and she didn't have a valid working visa, she had to just go back to Australia. Now, I'm not one to revel in people's downfall, but honestly, I thought this was hilarious. Mostly because it just couldn't have happened to a better person. Like, I feel bad for anyone that has to return to their country if they don't want to. But in this case, I think Japan's better off without her. Like, honestly, just goodbye. The only other thing that happened is I did actually end up posting about it on Facebook, just with, like, I don't know, my close friends or people in the Lolita community, and my friends back home could see it. And someone mailed me and they said that I shouldn't blame her for being racist because she's on the spectrum. I really can't speak for people on the spectrum, but most of my friends are neurodivergent and on the spectrum, and honestly none of them are racist. And I don't think that you can blame racism for being on the spectrum. Like, I don't see where those are, you know, like so yeah, that made me feel some kind of way. But all in all, I'm just glad that that chapter is closed. But honestly, this experience taught me the kind of person I want to spend my time with, and that's why all my friends are, you know, like, they're pretty level-headed, they're all really nice people, they're empathetic, none of them are racist or homophobic or transphobic or anything like that, and that's the kind of people I want to hang out with. And I used to go to, like, so many, like, different fashion events, and I used to meet people through that, but I also realized that just because we had an interest in, you know, like a fashion or something like that, it doesn't mean that we share the same values. And for me, with friendship, sharing values is, you know, like, the most important thing. So I think that in general, this was just a huge learning experience for me. And yeah, that's the story. Let me know what you think. Is it petty on my part to make light of this? Probably yes. Do I feel bad about it? No. I think I could have told this story much better if my ear gland wasn't throbbing and swelling. But yeah, I really enjoyed telling you this story, and I really want to hear what you think about it, and what you would have done in my situation. So as always, thank you for watching, and please subscribe.